right, let's get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Train on the Cloud, Run on the Edge, hosted by alwaysAI. My name is Liz Oss. I'm the head of marketing here at alwaysAI. And for today's webinar, we'll be joined by our two co-founders, Marty Beard, our CEO, and our CTO, Steve Griset. We also have a great demonstration in store for you, presented by our senior product manager, Todd Gleed, whose wife just gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby boy last night. So glad that you could make it here with us today, Todd. We're going to be covering our latest product innovation, cloud model training. Throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A panel, and our team will work to answer your questions as soon as possible. So let's get started. I'll be handing things over to Marty Beard, our CEO, who will be leading our presentation for today. Marty.
Hi, thanks, Liz. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we're super excited today. We have a major product announcement and demo, and we always love doing that. So we're going to talk a bit about our platform and just get everybody understanding the alwaysAI unique value proposition and our end-to-end platform for building computer vision applications and delivering them on the edge. Then we're gonna dedicate the majority of the time to the actual demo. We want you guys to see the new cloud training capability that we have. Of course, as always, we will have time for Q&A. And then we've got kind of an exciting announcement and offer that we'd like to extend to the community at the end. So why don't we go to the next slide? And I think, I just want to spend a couple of minutes just talking about why are we so focused on computer vision? The company, alwaysAI, was founded completely around the increasing importance of computer vision in the tech stack. Steve and I started the company with a perspective that vision, arguably the most powerful human sense, is going to become an incredibly powerful component of the tech stack across all industries, right? This is not a vertically specific phenomena. This is a horizontal phenomena, meaning that all industries are going to be impacted by vision. And that's what we do. So we wanted to make that available to more and more enterprise developers and to provide a platform that really gave them all the key components, as I said, to be able to build an app and get it running out on the edge. We're focused on the edge. Why? Because that's where life happens. It happens in real time out in the edge. And that's where all computer intelligence is heading. And we've been in this march over the decades towards pushing more and more and more insight out to the edge. And now with computer vision, we're there. We have now well over 20,000 developers that have registered to use our platform, but increasingly we're working with more and more enterprises that are doing super interesting projects. Just a week or so ago, we announced a partnership with Local Motors, which is an autonomous vehicle or autonomous bus company doing really innovative things, and we're super excited to work with them. But we're working with companies across the spectrum of retail and manufacturing. We're working with cities and governments. We're working with just a wide variety of industries and players in all those industries, and that gives us insight that allows us to offer the most important features that our developers and our companies want. One of those features is cloud training. Very loudly, we heard, "Hey, you guys provide really good workstation or local training, but we'd like cloud training. We're working with bigger data sets. We'd like to be able to crunch through those, do it faster, but also take advantage of alwaysAI to be able to deliver." So why alwaysAI? Because we don't just do models. We don't just provide APIs. We don't just provide a capability to run a model on the edge. We do all of it, right? Many of our competitors only focus on one part of that. We bring it all together. And so today you're going to find out how we're bringing super powerful, lightning fast cloud training seamlessly into our platform. So with that, let me turn it over to our Chief Technology Officer and co-founder, Steve Griset.
Thank you, Marty. In 2020, alwaysAI released its computer vision platform out into the marketplace. And as Marty indicated before, we provided a complete workflow. So from model training down to the application. So in model training, you can customize your machine algorithm, which is very important to be able to handle the specific needs of your application. We've also had our SDK, our APIs, which allowed you to rapidly, for a developer to rapidly develop their application. And as Marty said previously, we focused on edge inferencing. That type of inferencing is a less expensive solution for people to implement computer vision for both a perspective of telecommunications. So if you're going to do cloud-based inferencing, you have to have a robust telecommunications infrastructure in place. And then you also you're going to move out into a utility model as you start to put that into your product. If you did a cloud-based inferencing, where your cost would be on a per transactional basis or per inferencing basis in computer vision. So, this platform allowed for the complete development of your applications as a developer, but also reduced your cost base coming in. So, and then put computer vision where it needs to be. We see on the edge, it put computer vision on the edge. We also made sure we had collaboration, because we know as developers, you're going to want to collaborate with your teammates. So we have teams and project features that allow model developers, data scientists to collaborate with the application developers at the core of the platform. We containerize our product so that it'll allow for fleet management to use either your standard products that you have for fleet deployment, so that you could use Kubernetes, or you could use Docker Storm, or you could use third parties. We have a very good partner in Belina, and they have a third-party IoT product that will allow for you to deploy out to your IoT devices on the edge and manage those. But once you, next slide on that, once you hit the marketplace, you start to get feedback from the marketplace. So we had a lot of developer happiness, but then people that were managing the product out there in the customer base started to give us some feedbacks. And what they wanted on an enterprise-based level was to really get a hybrid solution. So they wanted the cloud more involved in the whole development process and workflow process. So one of the things, and Todd's going to talk heavily about this. So we are going to, they asked for cloud-based training solutions. So our training of 2021 allowed you to either work on your desktop out of the box on it, or you could take it and apply it to your own cloud solution for speed and just ease. They wanted a cloud-based solution was it. And then, analytics plays a huge part in any type of enterprise application. So they ask in this hybrid mode that, we gather analytics down at the edge and then we return them to the cloud. And when we talk about analytics, there are really two areas of analytics that people are asking. One is just on the machine learning model performance. So they want to understand how is that model performing out there, so they can make adjustments and so forth. The other is, of course, bringing about data on their application. So bringing back information on what's being seen out there and so forth. So, for example, for things like if I'm counting people. Say in a park usage scenario in a smart city area, they want to get back stats on usage time and so forth. And what people are saying, we need to have standardized dashboards when that comes back in data store systems. So that's what was going on the analytics side. And then they said, that's nice that you have all these third-party pieces. Can you make a more robust fleet management system? And part of that has to do with the fact that you're never one and done on your models. and applications. So how can you make a better fleet deployment around that system? And then, oh, by the way, one of our biggest stumbling blocks, just like we talked about edge inferencing, is also in these enterprise features that other IoT companies platforms offer, is that it's utility-based pricing. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's like your telephone service, it's like your gas service, and all those types of things you use is you end up paying on a per transaction type of basis. So if you're developing a product, you can't, it's hard to get pricing, and it puts a lot of pressure on you to put pricing over onto your customer base, which, makes it harder to work in abstracting value and providing value to your customers. So one of the demands from the market feedback is make sure this is all part of your platform fee and fixed price. Next slide, please. I think it's the next slide. Anyway, so that led to a set of product initiatives in 2021 that we started out in January to meet those needs. And they really, again, surround the cloud-based system, which we're going to go really into detail on that. So I'm not going to jump into Todd's area and leave him nothing to talk about. So we'll get into detail on that and see demos and all that. But that's one of the things. And so we've achieved that in Q3. Now, in the other pieces that we're looking at bringing out, again, is around analytics and fleet management. So we'll be bringing an analytics platform out, probably starting a little bit in Q3, but definitely have a production quality in Q4. And that, again, is around the dashboards, model analysis, which will probably come faster than at least base APIs will be coming out fairly quickly on model performance, and then just in general on a complete solution on analytics from the device on what the application was designed to do. Fleet management, again, we will be working on that, and that really is the life cycle management of the application and the model itself. On the edge devices. And then the last thing is we are embracing that fixed price platform fee for development and lifecycle management of the applications. So you'll be seeing that that is currently part of what this new release is, and so forth. Now I'm going to go a little off script because Todd is the manager of the product line and model training and so forth. But I have a secondary role where I'm the product manager of SDK. And tomorrow we'll be releasing a new version. We call our SDK Edge IQ. And that new version will have some enhancements around tracking, particularly around the Kalman tracker. And the reason that is interesting is as you release something and you just do detection, you don't have uniqueness. And by adding tracking, which we do in our APIs, it allows you to start getting uniqueness around the object you're tracking, which of course then feeds into the business logic and the analytics we're talking about. So we're going to be adding that. We're also looking at a computer vision technique called background subtraction. In particular, something called the MOG2 algorithm. And we're going to be releasing that along with contour, the ability to grab contours and so forth coming out of that background subtractor. And where the background subtractors can be used is for non-machine learning, the crafted, good old computer vision stuff for things like counting people entering and exiting, and from a fixed camera. And then also you could do things like counting cars and so forth in a smart city scenario. So look forward to a new version of our Edge IQ SDK also coming out. So I know that's off script, but I'm very proud of my product and want to make sure I announce that was happening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to a new parent. Well, not a new parent, but an additional, adding another child into the parent moding to Todd. And you look really good, Todd. Right. Just having a baby.
Yeah. Who needs sleep? I'm good.
Yeah. Overrated. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. So what I'm going to go over with you today is our cloud model training offering, how it integrates with our existing alwaysAI platform, how it kind of incorporates the model training process that you can see at the bottom, and then a little bit here why we decided to do it, and then give you a demo kind of our whole platform and how it fits in and what it looks like and such. So to start out, why did we do this? Well, as both Steve and Marty mentioned, we get a lot of feedback of customers having problems, and some of those, and we really feel that the cloud training solves a lot of those problems. So one of which is cost. As Steve mentioned, when you're training a model, you may need to do multiple versions. It's a long running process that can get really expensive if you're paying by the hour. If you're paying by the model and you want to tweak some, it can get really expensive. So by bundling that with our platform and allowing subscribers to use it as they want to, we feel that that's a really good offering in terms of cost. As far as compatibility, there are a lot of model trainers out there, and we've had people come to us who have trained a model with another company and then not know what to do with that model, not know how to deploy it to the edge or set up an API to inference that. And so that they have a model that they've trained, but now they don't know what to do with it, and other companies don't have the expertise to help them deploy that. Since our cloud model training is integrated directly into our platform, you can directly deploy that and start inferencing immediately. And the third thing, just to stay on that previous slide, is just experience. Some companies, they have the machine learning engineers on staff who know how to build models, know how to train them, but some just recognize computer vision as a possible enhancement to their offerings, something that can improve their bottom line or give them new products to sell, but they don't have the in-house expertise. With our cloud model training and our simple desktop interface, you don't need a lot of past experience. We'll walk you through that. It's near push button and definitely no code to get you a working model as quickly and easily as possible. So now I'm going to go over kind of how it works into the model training process, starting of course with your data set. So not only is the training on the cloud, but also data set storage. So each person's going to get their own, personal, private, encrypted S3 bucket to upload your data sets. Once they're up there, you can access them from anywhere, and they are configured for multiple training sessions, which means we break down that training and validation images and keep that stored so that when you continue from previous training section, you're not corrupting your data by validating on images that have been trained on before. As far as configuring the training, so like I said, the interface is really simple. So we've in the background kind of optimized the hyperparameters, so you don't have to worry about that. You can be confident that your model is configured to converge and produce good results. And all the configurations are in simple GUIs, drop downs. You can select from multiple model architectures. I'm going to go a little into what we have and how to do that later, and really kind of play with the settings in a easily configurable environment. And I'll get into that in the demo. As far as the infrastructure, so we are using AWS machine learning optimized GPUs, so they're powerful. You don't have to set up your own system. These are on demand. So when you need to train, we spin it up and provide that for you, and then it's linked right into our interface. And on that interface, I'll go over some of the feedback you provided as you were training. That's some of the loss and the validation losses. And when it's done, you get a kind of detailed summary of that performance, as well as be able to go back into past performances and compare current versions of models with past versions. Once it's done, it's deployed directly to your private model repository. I'll show you that on the website, and it's immediately ready for use to add to your application, to start inferencing, to iterate. I'll show you kind of how versioning works, because the latest version of a model is not always the most performant. And you can also share that model across your teams, so anyone can deploy it or write applications around it. So with that, I'll get into the demo and kind of go from edge to edge with a lot of different stuff here. Let's see. All right, so now I'm sharing my screen, and I'm going to start out with starting the model going. Again, it's kind of a long-running process, so I'm going to do that and then go over a couple things while it's provisioning those resources. So this is our desktop application. From here, you can do a number of different things. You can go to the dashboard, which I'm going to do momentarily after I start the session. You can open a terminal. This will allow you to configure your application, add models to your application, run them, deploy them to edge devices. We've got some commands here, all of which are well documented on our site. And then here we go to model training. So this page, so you can see we kept the local model training. If you used us before, this is the same interface as we have for cloud model training, but this is just using the resources of the machine that you're running this on. If you click cloud model training, this is where we're going to get a little different stuff. We're going to start with the data sets. Shows you a list of your existing data sets that you've updated. You can continue or start a new training session from any of these, as well as upload a data set. So we are assuming that you already have a data set when you start this. Kind of this session is going to work with a mask detecting data set, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. But first, let me start this session, because again, it takes a while. So I'm just going to start this. I'm going to continue from a previous session. So if your model name matches up, you'll be able to continue from a previous training version. Go with MobileNet. I'm just going to do a couple of epochs. And then once you start this, you'll get some feedback that your session is started. And this takes a while, goes to AWS and starts provisioning. So let's go back to the data set real quick. So you've collected a data set. This is comprised of images and annotations. So you've got images, which are, in this case, pictures of people with masks on, people without masks. And then you've got your annotations. This is in Pascal VOC format, XML kind of showing the bounding boxes. And so what this looks like is, you've got the masks. So this will be labeled no mask. It's showing their faces. And what you're looking for in a data set is to get a variety of images, different examples, different sizes, but kind of be representative of how you want to inference. So this is the data set, and this is kind of the project that we're going to be working on. Let me show you your dashboard. So this, when you sign up for an alwaysAI account, this out of here, this is your home page. You've got projects to start. So this is the application you're going to write, like for a mask detector. If you want to perform some action after detecting a mask, where you're detecting people with masks, and then you want to send an SMS message or something like that when you see someone who doesn't have a mask. or kind of write an application around that, and that will be here in your projects. It's going to be a list of different ones. So today we're doing kind of the mask detection. You can see that it's got models associated with it. It's got collaborators and devices that you're deploying it to. Once you finish training, your model is going to show up here. This is your private model repository. You can see that for mass demo, I've gone through a couple different versions, both in training. Like I said, I trained with a real large data set to make sure that the mask is gonna inference properly. But then I'm gonna continue training from a small data set just for demonstrative purposes here. And so you can see how that's done with versions. Collaborators are people you've invited to your project, and then devices. I don't have any registered for this demo because I'm just doing it here on my computer, but you have a list there. And from here, you can go to all our documentation about applications or about setting up an edge device, but really kind of use this as your home base. So now we'll go back and I'll kind of talk about the settings that I went through to do this. So we have our data set. Once you upload this and start training, it'll get the labels. It'll infer that right from the data set. You give the model a name, and again, you can continue from previous versions, and then you can choose your model architecture. Right now we have MobileNet v1 and YOLO v3, and the reason we chose these is really for their general purpose, and they're fast inferencing and ideal for performing on the edge. So this MobileNet v1 version that we have is really, really fast. You'll see it in the in the demo how fast that it inferences. And YOLO v3 is something that a lot of customers ask for. It's really popular kind of because it's so accurate while also being really fast as well. And we can convert both of these into TensorRT for use on NVIDIA devices. And we're looking at adding more model architectures, but this is what we have, and they're really perfect for our customers' usage. So now we have a number of epochs and batch size, and these things are really tied together, and they kind of do the length of your training is defined by epochs. So what's an epoch? One epoch is looking at every image in your data set one time. So you've got a data set of 1,000 masks. If you set a batch size of 1, that's going to look at every single image, update the weights after that, and then move on to the next step. So one epoch is 1,000 steps. Now with a batch size of 2, you're going to look at 2 images before adjusting the weights, and so one epoch is going to be 500 steps, and so forth. So at batch size 4, this would be 250 steps per epoch. And what does that mean when you update the weight? So we're looking at masks, and the lower the batch size, the more effect each image has on the weights. So if you've got an image with a lot of people, it's got maybe people in the background, and you've labeled as many of the people as you can who have masks, but some of the ones in the background aren't as annotated, it might confuse the model, to personify it, where it might think that there's a person, but when you look at the ground truth, which is those bounding boxes that I showed you, if it doesn't have a bounding box around the person, it's going to tell the model that that's not a person, or that person doesn't have a mask, and it's going to affect the weights kind of heavily. But if you increase the batch size and you average across 8, 16, 32 images before updating the weights, then kind of those more complex or hard to determine images won't have as much effect on the weights, and overall your model is going to perform a little better. So there are definitely techniques of using smaller batch size, but you got to kind of adjust it to your data set to see if you have any hard images or anything like that. Image input size is something where the software itself is going to change those, so you don't have to worry about your input size of your images. You don't have to make them a certain size. but this does affect kind of the information. So again, if you have an image with a lot of people that are really small, and then it compresses it down to 300 by 300, then the bounding boxes might get really small, and it's going to be a little more difficult to train on. So you want to have examples of small and large bounding boxes, but keep in mind that it's going to resize your images, and there might be some information lost there. Yeah, so this is the chart. So once we start plotting, we're pre-processing the data right now. So this status bar is going to tell us at what stage of training we're in. We're going to get logs, which also tell us where we are, kind of keep you up to date. And then the sessions tab here, this is a history of all the past training sessions you had. So you can look at a past one, kind of look at your settings and see what you did. It's got your batch size, your number of epochs, what model, and kind of use that for going forward. So if you're looking to see your mask, it's not. I'll show you an example here when we run this. But if it's not picking up children, or if it's not picking up a certain thing, you may want to add more data of that, and maybe change the settings as well. So here we started plotting, and so what this is plotting is in blue is going to be the training loss, and so this is the difference between the what the model thinks is mask and no mask versus that ground truth, which is those annotations that we put on there. And usually this starts out pretty high, around 50-50, because the model doesn't have any information. But since I'm continuing from a previous version, it kind of starts low and stays low, and still should improve over time. The orange here is the validation loss, and that's stopping the training of the model, stopping the updating of the weights, and applying that model to those validation images that we have saved from the training session. And those are naive images, just as if you had deployed your model in the real world, and it kind of analyzes the guesses that it makes on those, but we do again have the ground truth, those bounding boxes. And so this is images that have not been involved in updating the weights of the model. So over time, you should see kind of both of these lower as your model gets better and better. And if your validation loss, if you notice it start to rise as you go on, then you can tell that your model is overfitting on the right here, it's overfitting on the training data and not as good on the novel data. And so you should probably stop training and think your model has gotten as good as it can from the size of the data set, the examples that you have in there, and then you can consider updating data or analyzing your model and adding additional data. Once your session is complete here, we kind of give you a summary of what went on. So we've got your training time, the final loss, and the labels that it trained on, and then we kind of give you some performance here. And the performance is kind of standardized. We use the COCO eval to give you the mean average precision as well as the average recall. And from this, you can compare different versions of your model. You can compare your model to other models you use, and it's broken down into kind of confidence level and as well as the size of the inferencing. So here you can see that it's not too good with smalls, and that could be one, MobileNet is not the best with small bounding boxes, or it could be I don't have a lot of examples of small bounding boxes in my data set. So I might want to add some of those pictures and annotate them to my data set to improve the performance over small. But I mean, we're writing an application for a specific purpose. So you may be, checking mask on, an ATM or something where it's not going to, the size of the face in the frame is going to be pretty consistent. So you're not too worried if it doesn't doesn't perform well on small images because you're pretty consistent on the size that you're inferencing on, and maybe you only need medium and large, and so this is just fine. All this is it's printed out in the logs. We send an email to let you know when it's done, with this information, and yeah, we can help you out here. So now my model's done, and it's automatically sent to my personal model catalog. So that was here. You can see version should update to version 5 if I give it a refresh. So that means that I've now got 5 versions, and now it's ready to be pulled down and used in my application, whatever that is. So I'm just using a standard webcam application. But let me show you what this model looks like. So I've got mass detection application here. I've got my model loaded up, and so here I'm just going to update the models, and that should bring it from version 4, which I was testing on yesterday, to version 5, and that's the latest model that I trained on. So once I bring the model down, I know it's the right version, then I just need to install it. This is bringing it from your personal catalog onto the device that you have assigned to run this application. So here it's just my personal computer, but that could be your edge device. It could be wherever you want to do inferencing from. And once this is done, then we'll run it, and you'll kind of see how it performs. You can analyze it again, use the either performance data, or you're visually inspecting your it in action to then add data as you need, get different amounts of data, that sort of thing. So the models can be big, so that's why it could take a long time. I'm also streaming and sharing my screen, so this is downloading. But one thing to note is in our application, if you get disconnected or you want to go do other things, we do kind of send you an email when your model is complete, so you don't need to sit and watch the graphs go if you want. It's good information at the beginning to ensure that that it's getting better, meaning your data set isn't corrupted or something. You can see that it's performing well, but it's not required to keep watching it on the desktop. So now that it's there, I'll start it. Kind of open the URL, and you can see, so it says no mask. Oh, I don't really have a mask. I forgot about that. So you can see if it likes this. Oh, thanks. See if it goes. I can't see it. Okay, so you can see that the inference time is really fast. It's liking no mask right now, which might tell us we need to add some data for getting masks. Maybe guys with beards needs to add some data. You can see that the inference time for this MobileNet V1 for this size is really flying. So that's it. That's kind of how cloud training incorporates into our alwaysAI platform and our model training thing. I'm going to kick it back to Marty to kind of finish up.
Okay. All right. Okay, Todd, thanks. So I think, so let me just step back for a second. So again, we wanted to show how the end-to-end platform works and how we've incorporated cloud training into that platform. So you can see that you never have to leave alwaysAI. You're always within our environment. And as you update your models, train your models, they go into your private dashboard, and your private dashboard is all you need. It shows all your models, all your projects, everything, all your devices, et cetera. And one of the things that our developers and our enterprise customers get so excited about, because computer vision is a very active development environment. People are making changes a lot, or you're getting new data, you want to retrain it, you want to try something different. You might have a new customized API that you want to engage, or you have a different endpoint that you want to leverage. And we just make that super easy. So the developer doesn't have to worry about that. They can worry more about just focusing on the application and so forth. But also they don't have to worry about the utility pricing that Steve talked about earlier. We noticed that a lot of computer vision was getting held back because of the costs, right? If you're inferencing in the cloud, training in the cloud, you're getting, it can get quite expensive. So we don't charge for that. We don't charge for edge inferencing. We don't charge for the cloud training. It's included in our annual platform fee. So anybody who signs up for a platform relationship, we're a SaaS software company with alwaysAI. Within that, you're going to get all of the improvements that we're constantly working on. Steve dropped a couple today when he was talking about our enhanced tracking capability, as well as I think it was the background subtraction capability. That's just an example of you're a subscriber, now you just get that, right? We're constantly improving the platform. So as part of your platform arrangement, you're going to get all those improvements. And again, you're not going to have to worry about running your app on the edge. We're not going to charge you for that. So this is just showing some of the differences, some of the options that are out there, like SageMaker, Clarify, RoboFlow. These companies are more focused on utility pricing, whether they're charging per inference or charging per hour of training or what have you. We just don't see that as sustainable. And we think that really the reality of computer vision is it's all about the end-to-end application creation and deployment. And we don't want our developers, our companies worrying about this utility pricing. So that's that. Let's go to the next slide. And what we'd like to offer, and you can see that I may not remember it exactly, but I think Todd trained for, I think it was 3-4 minutes, something like that. We are offering 10 hours free of training for anybody that's interested in kind of checking out the platform. And so we'd like to encourage people out there that are interested in getting to know our platform and interested in checking out the new cloud training capability. What you need to do is you need to schedule a demo. Because we want to make sure that we understand what you're trying to do. We want to make sure you understand how to get going with alwaysAI very quickly and easily. So we're here for you. The URL that you see here, this learn.alwaysai.co /demo10, that's where you need to go to schedule the demo. And we love giving demos. We love showcasing our product, but more importantly, we love seeing what you do with it. So go ahead and check it out, schedule a demo, go to that URL again, and we'll remind everybody what that URL is through an email, but go ahead and schedule a demo and get coding. So let's go to the next slide. And I know that we've had a lot of Q&A going back and forth through the chat box, which is awesome, but we want to pause right now, and I'm going to turn it back over to Liz and just see if there's any questions that somebody would like to ask or that we can dive into.
Yeah, looks like most of the questions were answered in the chat, but why don't we answer one regarding the trial? One person asked, how long does the trial last for?
Well, I mean, you can trial up to 10 hours. So as long as it takes you to get to 10 hours. So that could be 10 hours, or that could be many, many days or weeks or months. We don't know. But yeah, the limit's more on the hours than it is on anything else. And again, the reason that's there is obviously if you were already a platform customer, go to town. Like I said earlier, we're not going to charge you for the training, but here we're trying to get people to step up, use it. We're going to let you go ahead and use that, access those 10 hours of cloud training. And we just really want to get you familiar with the platform and allow you to do some fun things and deploy using alwaysAI. We'd love to work with you.
Great. Thanks, Marty. Okay, one other question we have, and in the interest of time, we'll probably just take this last one because we're at time right now. This one is for you, Todd. About how many epochs should I train for?
Yeah, that's a kind of the classic question. Usually the answer really is it depends. It depends on the size of your data set. It depends on, the quality of your data set. But what we do is actually transfer learning. So we are kind of using pre-trained weights that have been trained on the basics, edge detection, corner detection, that sort of thing. So you don't need to go for days, but and then the other thing, if you go too long, we're worried about overfitting. So for enterprise level, we really can go up to 75, 100 epochs just to really kind of get that model trained on your data set, if your data set is big enough and can handle it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Todd. All right. So it looks like most of the questions were answered in the chat again, but if you have a question that was not answered, please feel free to email us at info@alwaysai.co. You can also reach out to us on our Discord channel, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Certainly during your demo, we could answer any additional questions that you may have. All right. Well, that concludes today's webinar. We'll be sending out all the attendees a on-demand link where you'll be able to watch this webinar at your leisure. And I want to thank you to our presenters, Marty, Steve, and Todd. Congratulations, Todd, on your new baby. And thanks everyone for joining our webinar today, and have a great day.